You may or may not be familiar with the word somatic. And if you're into wellness, you probably hear this word almost every day at this point on social media or otherwise. So here's what that word actually means. Hi, I'm John. I'm a certified somatic breathwork guide on the faculty at Kripalu Center and Schreiber Acting Studio in New York City. And I help you clear stress from the deepest running currents of your nervous system so that you can live a more heart-centered, authentic life. Somatic. So what does it actually mean? So the Cambridge Dictionary definition, very simply is, I'll read it, somatic, adjective, relating to the body as opposed to the mind. So it couldn't be simpler, right? Well, people will still troll the internet, whatever, about all their different interpretations, but here's what it comes down to, and the most useful way to think of it, I find. We have our psyche and we have our soma. Right? The psyche, the mind, the soma, the body. It's just take it real simple. It's the most effective way to put this into practice in your life so that you can heal, grow, and transform. So in our culture, most of us can agree that we tend to be more psyche dominant. We try to be cerebral. If there's a problem, how do I fix or change this? When we are overwhelmed, we tend to start overthinking, right? One way to define overthinking is underfeeling. Because we can all agree that thinking, generally speaking, is good. Like, it's good to think. It's good to assess situations and use our mind and think. That's good. So then what the hell is overthinking? Thinking too much? Like, what exactly is that? But if you think of overthinking as underfeeling, it starts to make a lot more sense, because now we're starting to merge the psyche and the soma. We're starting to become more whole, right? Because we're not just a mind, we're not just a body, we're both. And arguably, maybe there's a soul in there too. But specifically to this point, when we become overly psyche dominant, when we start overthinking, it's at the expense of our soma, of our body's wisdom and our body's intelligence. Now, here's what I mean by that. Right now, you're watching this, your heart is beating. I'm assuming, unless you're a vampire or a zombie or something. Who knows with what's going on in the world? It could go any number of ways. All right, I digress. Your heart is beating. Your body is digesting food and assimilating nutrients, repairing cellular damage. I just worked out this morning. Maybe you did too. Your body's repairing tissue damage, growing your muscles, becoming stronger. If you were to go outside and scrape your knee on the pavement, you wouldn't fix that from thinking about it with your psyche. Your soma, your body's innate wisdom and intelligence would start to heal that scrape on your knee, right? So our bodies are healing, growing, transformation machines, but so often our psyche and also accumulated trauma stored in the nervous system can create disruptions in the flow of our energy. So put a pin in that. That gets into my breathwork sessions, and I talk about that in whole other videos. But that's why we have this psyche versus soma kind of thing, where they don't have to be at odds with each other. We could integrate them together. And also something very specific I want to say to that is, let's talk about psychologists for a second. So Freud talked a lot about a lot of things, but something he is not remembered for is his somatic work. And now I can even hear through the screen right now different therapists or people with different backgrounds being like, Freud's somatic work, what the hell are you talking about? Well, long story short, I narrated an audiobook. This audiobook was this obscure French philosophy book, and in one particular section, it talked about Freud working with traumatized war veterans. And what Freud himself said is, when he would rehash through talk therapy with traumatized war veterans, in a lot of cases, he felt like it was making them worse. Rather than talking out a situation or experience that happened with them, they started to feel, rather than starting to feel better in recounting the story, they started to feel worse, like it was digging the ditch deeper and deeper and deeper. You know who else said something like this? Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote Body Keeps the Score. When he was working with Vietnam veterans in his career, he found that talking for certain populations with certain situations going on in their nervous system, in their mind, and in their body, that talking was digging the ditch deeper, not pulling people out. And so Freud talks about, in his experience with traumatized war veterans specifically, using more body-based therapies of around body awareness, embodiment awareness. And when I was reading this audiobook, I was reading it for an acting job. But when I was reading this audiobook, my mind started, like, bells started ringing. I was like, oh my God. Because I'd been guiding breathwork for a couple of years at that point, at least. And I was reading this thinking, oh my God, Freud did somatic work. He had his own word for it. It wasn't somatic, but it was something, in the realm, of course, body-based. And it related perfectly to what Bessel said in Body Keeps a Score. And it was a revelation that Freud himself did somatic work that was apparently lost to history in a greater or lesser degree. People don't talk about it. But here's where this all comes together. In our culture, I think we are reaching a fever pitch of the dominance of the psyche with technology, AI, all these different things coming, like the ships are at the shore. And we have become so psyche reliant, so cerebrally dominant that there is a collective unconscious, to reference Carl Jung, another great person in history. I believe that there is an activation in our collective unconscious as a human species to lean towards embodiment. What makes us human? What makes us a human mammal on the planet Earth? And this is why I think the word somatic is coming out left and right. And from every angle, if you're, again, interested in wellness at all, it's your algorithm, your feed is probably getting crammed full of people using the word somatic. And I have to know, I have to believe, and I truly think and feel that it's because our species has reached this critical point where if we keep overemphasizing the psyche, if we keep leaning into the cerebral, we're in trouble. Whereas we are having this felt experience as a collective human species, whether we realize it or not, even for those of us that are in wellness, for those of people that aren't, there is this collective human experience, this deeper, maybe even unconscious, subconscious understanding. We need to come back to our bodies. We need to come back to nature. Hence the word somatic.